As the days went by, there were more and more people in the restaurant, and they all wanted to order, and were not tipping, and weren't particularly nice. But what we discovered is that they spoke Catalan, and the Catalan is very close to French. So I wound up waiting.
Oh,
The manager said, "I'm going to put everybody into a banquet room, so it'll be easier for you." I'm like, "That's not really helping. Everybody's yelling at me at one time."
that's right.
And with 40 or 50 people yelling at you, sitting around a long table all at once, screaming. It was nuts. And I just listened to all these people yelling at me, and I went to the table and I slammed my fist. And I said, in French, "Shut up."
Hmm.
Everybody, shut your mouth right now. And people were all of a sudden dead silent. Every single person was staring at me like, "Who are you?"
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, yeah, who am I? And what have I just done? I don't know where that even came from.
Uh-huh.
Then I just said, well, you're in it now. You might as well keep going.
Welcome to Inside the Castle Walls, where we share enlightening conversations with contemporary pioneers who have scaled walls to change systems, organizations, and themselves to contribute to the greater good. My name's Errol Southers, and I'll be your host for the program. Today, we're joined by Stephen Adams. And Stephen, it's such an honor. Thank you for joining us today.
It is a pleasure to be here in conversation with you, Errol.
Thank you. So, as I mentioned, we have the honor of speaking with Stephen Adams. He's an award-winning manager and producer and founder partner at Alta Global Media. Stephen has produced impactful projects like the Netflix original Rodney King and the Peabody Award-winning A Huey P. Newton Story, both directed by Spike Lee. He also contributed to the marketing of Spike Lee's hit series, He's Gotta Have It, and the Academy Award-winning BlacKkKlansman, which I had the honor of sitting at the screening, Stephen, thanks to you. As a dynamic host and speaker, Stephen has led panels at prestigious events like Cannes, and Sundance. He co-produced the insightful web series Show Me the Effing Money, featuring top names in film and finance. We're going to dive into Stephen's challenging and successful journey to learn what it took and get his take on the ever-evolving multimedia landscape. So, Stephen, I'm going to just say, first of all, it's been a pleasure knowing you. We've been together for, believe it or not, 8 years now since I joined you with Buffalo 8. So time
That's
flies.
amazing.
And, people have no idea when they see you and all the success you've had, all the people you work with, like Spike Lee and Jim Cameron and Tim Burton, all of the awards. But let's just go back to the beginning. Tell folks who you are. And again, just a pleasure to have you today.
Well, first of all, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I can't believe it's been 8 years. That it blows my mind. But of course, a lot of our time got warped by the goodness of 2020.
That's true.
It's like, because people say that and I'm like, what? How can that be so? But there's that big hole in the middle of everything. So really, it's only been 3 years.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just being silly. But yeah, about me, I'm from the Bay Area. I grew up in Oakland, studied broadcasting and French cinema, and but was sort of being pushed in one direction by my family to go into finance and what have you. But and was doing that, but studying what I wanted, but doing what they wanted. And one day I just was like, I got to do what I want, and so that kind of led to me coming to Hollywood and working in agency and then a management company and then going out on my own, where I've been for over 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
uh, I just thought, this is a this is an industry full of invention. So let me invent my own parachute. Let me just do it. And that's what I've done.
Outstanding. And, I'm always fascinated by the fact that when you go to Cannes, you spend several weeks or months there. You're fluent in French. Let's go back even further. You're fluent in French. Let's talk about that. And then let's talk about your family and how that all happened.
Well, that's because my mother's family's from Louisiana. And when I was a child, I used to love to go to visit my grandparents a lot, and my grandmother and a lot of her siblings had moved to California in the 40s when my mother was a little girl, and a lot of people had left the South for wartime opportunities. And so you have areas which up until I would say the 80s or 90s really felt, and the same thing in LA, that
Mhm.
people who just were all from these areas in other parts of the country. But in Northern California, you had a lot of people from Texas, Arkansas, and Louisiana. And in LA, you had a lot of the same, but they were all the ones in Northern California were country, bayou folk,
Hmm.
spoke French. And then in Louisiana, and then in LA, you had a lot of people from New Orleans who pretend to speak French, but we know we're the ones that really speak French. Yeah.
Okay.
They throw a lot of French words, and I can make fun of that because it's like they think they're speaking French, but they're speaking, English with a French accent and a lot of French words. But my grandparents, that was their first language.
Hmm. And speaking of your grandparents, you told me that your grandfather lived to be over 100.
114.
Wow.
When he died, he was well, before he died, he was one of the oldest living Americans and
Is
was
that right?
honored by Richard Nixon in the White House. My
Wow.
grandmother went there. I have a picture of them with Nixon, and I just get my cousin to give that to me.
Well, you've got some good genes, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, really, technically, I'm only 22, so
So I'm always fascinated, you know, when I speak to folks about mentors and people that have been impactful in their life. And your family is rather unique. I mean, you've had some Hollywood greats around you as you grew up. And I'd like you to talk about some of them and whether or not you had any real mentors at that time.
Well, I always feel like like for many of us, I think our families are our mentors. I mean,
Hmm.
I think in some cases, even if you're not getting exactly what you need from them, you're still getting something. I think
Hmm.
my grandparents were the ones who really got me and encouraged me to do what I wanted to do, and were really supportive of my move to Hollywood, which my father was dead set against. And uh, it wasn't until years later that I found out why. He was like, "Oh,
Uh,
Hollywood's bad. I don't want you doing that." And
uh-huh.
you shouldn't live in LA. And, I grew up in LA and it's not a good place. And, I wasn't really questioning what this was based on. And it wasn't until I was in Los Angeles I was probably 27 or 28, and
Hmm.
his mother died, who I had never known. And I came back from her funeral and said, "I brought you something." And I was like, "What is this?" I said, "I didn't really know this woman." And, it was a strange thing to have a grandparent that you don't know that was living.
Sure.
That's just the truth of it. And I opened this box and it was filled with pictures of my grandparents in Hollywood in the 1940s.
Wow.
And my grandfather was a CPA who had a lot of the black actors of the day. And my grandmother was the social secretary for Hattie McDaniel.
Is that right?
Yeah. So she would have planned all of Hattie's events. And Hattie had a very high-powered social life, and it was very political. She broke a lot of the racial covenants in the West Adams area, fought
Hmm.
cases all the way up to the Supreme Court to allow affluent blacks to live in these areas, and really was couldn't be more diametrically opposed to what she did on screen.
Yeah.
So it was the house that she lived in, which is still standing, was a hub of a lot of activity and
Yeah.
a lot of positive things and and she had all these incredible integrated parties, which 80 plus years ago were kind of unheard of. But
Yeah.
Hollywood greats there as well. So it's a pretty amazing thing. And then my
Wow.
father said, "Look at this. I tried my best to stop you from doing it, but you did it anyway."
And again, you had that parental push. I know you graduated quite a young age. Talk about that, and then you went on to San Francisco State.
Yeah, I was 16 when I graduated, barely 16. And, I had a lot of opportunities to go to a lot of places, but I really was in too young,
Uh-huh.
not mature enough to be able to go and cope with people who were 19, 20, 21. And at 16, I just was not ready. And also I knew I wanted to do film, and I just felt that that was the right thing. So I really uh, selected that school, which was not necessarily the first choice in the household, but it worked out for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And also during that time, you mentioned that you saw She's Gotta Have It. And by the way, if no one's noticed so far, I do have on my Spike Lee Do the Right Thing Mookie shirt from Sal's Famous Pizza in your honor. But you said when you saw She's Gotta Have It, that really changed your life.
Yeah, it's funny because I think when I look back to that period when I made the decision that I wanted to focus on film, I started focusing on film.
Hmm.
Was going to festivals and finding jobs and looking at things, all based in the city of San Francisco and around the area.
Sure.
And it was I worked on like this uh, cable French television series and directed episodes and did all these things. I was trying to get myself, back in the momentum that I felt that I'd created as a child, really.
Uh-huh.
And then um, one day there was this, I started hearing about this movie that was coming to the San Francisco Film Festival, and it was called She's Gotta Have It. I think it was the American debut. I'm not sure.
Okay.
There was a buzz about the film, and I went to see it, and I was like, what am I seeing? And it was She's Gotta Have It by Spike Lee. And I was like, wait a minute. I'd never seen anything like it before.
Wow.
And, about young Black people navigating love and life in New York. And I just thought this is definitely possible. And so, I really made up my mind that I wanted to know him, I wanted to work with him, and I wanted to go to Hollywood, and it was gonna happen. I mean, that was like a determining moment. And a year later I was there.
Yeah.
And
But
2 years later I met him.
I recall you mentioning that you majored in broadcasting and French literature,
Yeah.
but then you went on to an interesting pursuit of finance.
Well, yeah, during the years of my doing what was expected, I was working in banking and finance. So,
I see.
while I was in school, I worked in the Bank of America. Then I worked for a foreign currency exchange that was then known as Deek Pereira.
Hmm.
And I went to work for a global growth fund called GT Global Growth. And so it was very interesting and very good experience. And honestly, I will say that as much as I resisted knowing and doing these things, it has paid off tremendously to know and understand finance and not flinch in a silly business like ours where every other person thinks they're a producer but knows nothing about money or the manufacturing process of film.
Uh-huh.
It's like I was always, well, I'll do this, I'll figure this out. So that kind of became one of my that experience was not wasted. It actually blended very well into what I was doing.
That's great. I mean, my life story and the frustrating part for my parents, much like yours, in terms of them wanting me to be a doctor. And then one day a voice said to me as I was in medical school, I'm leaving this place. I don't want to do this anymore. And I think you had a similar experience in your life when you left employment and went on to do something. You didn't do what I did, which was leaving medical school and becoming a dog catcher, but you did do something.
Practically, I did my own crazy version of that. I mean, look, you know, for context, I mean, when I was a child, I had uh, made a short film in the sixth grade, a short animated, stop animated feature. Uh, was a film festival judge in the middle school years. We made a full-length feature in my high school cinematography class. So in my
Oh,
mind, I was ready to go, to go.
uh-huh.
That, as I've said, that was objected to by my father, who thought it was the worst thing in the world that I could possibly be doing this with no explanation. But I
Right.
understand because he was my dad. And and as I said, I'm sure, looking back on what he uh, uh, later revealed, I understand why he felt that way about it.
Hmm. Hmm.
His parents got caught up in Hollywood and destroyed their marriage, and so and he and his brother were, damaged by that, traumatized by it. So I'm sure that was what he was trying to shield me from. Of course, like he said, I did it anyway, and I'm
Of
still saying
course.
it's okay.
Yeah.
We learn, and I'm
We
grateful for
certainly
that
do.
information. And I'm not, someone who's caught up in the woo-woo side of everything. It's a business.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's funny. I think once you make your mind up to follow your instincts speak very loudly.
Certainly. Absolutely. And you
I,
followed your heart.
yeah, but I've been to your point. I literally heard a voice wake me up and say, "Quit your job."
Wow.
And I was like,
Wow.
"What?" I'm like, "You quit your job today."
Uh-huh.
And that's happened a couple of times in my life where it was like dramatic and sudden, and I just did it.
Hmm.
In both cases, it was the right thing to do, even, and this. And so anyway, I did that, and then I realized I hadn't. really thought through what I was going to do.
As we
And,
usually don't at that
and
age.
and I was like, well, I could probably get a job in my favorite restaurant and
Okay.
work there because it was a cool place. And I was like, I'm gonna, because I'd never really been as free as I wanted to be. So I'm gonna hang out and do things and be a little more on the art side. And that was a cool hipster place. And it was a restaurant called Squids where they served fried calamari and had a pink neon squid in the window and a loud jukebox, and all kinds of people came there. And it seemed like the right place because we had people from the theaters on Geary Street, from the high
Hmm.
culture on Van Ness, the Opera Symphony
Hmm.
Ballet,
Wow.
and then the rock and roll joints and the strip clubs of Market Street. And
Okay.
so all that was converging into one place. So it was a quite a place to hang out.
I bet. And what'd you do there?
Well, as I called my father and he said, I said, I'm left my job. And he goes, really? What is your new position? I'm going to be working at this restaurant. He goes, are you managing? He thought I was going to be managing a chain of restaurants. I said, no, I'm going to be working in the restaurant.
Okay.
And that was met with dead silence.
Hmm.
Nah.
I can only imagine.
He said, so let me get this straight. You're going from being an executive to being a waiter. And I said, no, I don't know how to be a waiter. I'm going to be a busboy.
Oh my God.
And so he hung up the phone in my face.
I know that feeling. Okay.
But, look, the reality is that as we talk about the magic, I mean, what began to happen is that because I was working there, I met people from all those stratums that we're talking about. Every touring show that came to the city, I met the cast and the
Hmm.
producers and the directors and their audiences, and the same for the ballet, symphony, and opera. I met the people from the ballet, I met the people from the symphony and the opera, and then we met the strippers and the rock and rollers too.
I bet.
So, it was quite an education, to put it mildly.
Uh-huh. Wow.
And one day, a woman came into the restaurant and said, "There's a new show coming to town called Flamenco Puro, and it's uh, starring these two very famous flamenco artists, El Chocolate and Fernanda." And those people were probably in their 60s at that point. And I said, yeah, I'm aware of the show. And she said, listen, the Roma people are on their way here. They like the fried food. It reminds them of Spain, and they are going to be here in full force. Be ready.
Wow.
They are a handful. I was like, okay.
Uh-huh.
And I thought, yeah, whatever. It's like, you sound a little racist. She goes, listen, I am a Roma. I can tell you right now. Just be ready.
Okay.
And I didn't think much more of it. But, as the days went by, there were more and more people in the restaurant, and they all wanted to order and were not tipping and weren't particularly nice. But what we discovered is that they spoke Catalan, and the Catalan is very close to French. So I wound up waiting.
Oh.
So at a certain point, within a week or so, we had like 40, 50 of these people coming in for lunch every day,
Hmm.
dinner
Hmm.
as well. And the management was like, you're the only one they want to wait on them. I'm like, but they're not tipping me. And
Oh,
we'll give you 10%. I'm like, no, 15, because you want me to come in for two shifts a day.
good for you.
I'm like, I may be young, but I'm not crazy. And I have ambition to go to Hollywood or New York. And this went on and on and on until it was like crazy. Like I was not, the manager said, I'm going to put everybody into a banquet room so it'll be easier for you. I'm like, that's not really helping. Everybody's yelling at me at one time.
That's right.
And with 40 or 50 people yelling at you, sitting around a long table all at once, screaming, it was nuts.
Oh,
And I had just, I had about 2 weeks of this, and I thought, I can't, this was during the rehearsal period of this show.
okay.
And, at this point, the stars were there. So the Fernanda would sit at the one head of the table, and El Chocolate would sit at the other end of the table, and
Uh-huh.
all their crowds would be sitting with them and ordering. It was just nuts. And so finally, I honestly, I can confess it. I went out the night. I was so pissed off, and after these two shifts, I went out and got a little bit drunk, and I came in the next day late and with a hangover. And the manager's like, "You're late." I'm like, "So fire me." He said,
No.
looked at me. I was like, "What are you going to do? You have nobody
Right.
else who can do this right now."
That's right.
I went into the dining room and there's all these people and they're like, they're hungry and they're looking at me like, where have you been? And I'm like, and I just listened to all these people yelling at me and I went to the table and I slammed my fist and I said, in French, shut up.
Hmm.
Everybody, shut your mouth right now.
Really?
Yeah. And people were uh all of a sudden dead silent. Every single person was staring at me like in a Western where they're like, who are you?
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, yeah, who am I? And what have I just done? I don't know where that even came from.
Uh-huh.
Then I just said, well, you're in it now. You might as well keep going. So I said, listen, here's how it's going to work. I'm going to wait on her first because she is the queen. I am going to go on her left side and I'm going to stop with him because he is the king. And then I'm going to finish on the other side and I'm going to stop at her right hand because she is the queen.
Nice.
And everybody just stared at me. And I was like, what? The time felt like it was, had slowed down. I don't know how long it really was.
Uh-huh.
So everybody's just looking and staring and into this silence. And all of a sudden, Fernanda starts to clap.
Wow.
She says, come to me. Vieni aquí, mi principe. You're my prince. You're my son. You're puro gitano, pure
Wow.
gypsy, and you're my son. She grabbed my face and she said, I love you. And she said, you to the people, she goes, you do what he says the way he says it. And when he is finished, I'm going to pass my hat and you're going to pay him.
Outstanding.
So I
Wow.
was like, what?
Yeah.
So I
Holy.
took her order and I bowed to her. She blew me a kiss. Everybody clapped. We did our table. I bowed to the king and then we finished with the queen and then we did our order and it was like clockwork.
Man, you literally changed the game.
I changed the game. And and again, it's speaking of instinct and setting boundaries. It was like that is when, we all started to see each other as people,
Hmm.
know these people really well, and to be with them twice a day. And then when the shows opened, they wanted me to come to the shows. So I would do the lunch, come back, give them dinner, then go to the shows, and then come back after dinner and take care of them there. And this went on for 8 weeks. So I was really the only way anybody that knew me saw me was I was like, well, I have unlimited tickets to the show. You want to
No
come?
kidding. Yeah.
So
Oh, good for
I
you.
was fully in with these people for the 8 weeks they were there.
Uh-huh.
And we would come back to this restaurant and sing, and they would sing and play guitar and dance flamenco until dawn. And it was probably one of the greatest experiences of my life at that point, and probably still is. And when the show was almost over, I mean, we'd had such an incredible time. They were like, we're moving to the next place. We want you to come with us and take care of us. And I said, I would love to do that, but my dream is to go to Hollywood. And
Okay.
at this point, by the way, these people had paid me a lot of money,
Uh-huh.
because they were tipping and then throwing the hat, and the management was still paying because I'm like, you're still paying me. This is separate.
That's right.
This deal is not negated. So I had the money to go to Hollywood, and Fernanda said, you're breaking my heart, but as long as you live, you will always have the luck and the love of the gypsies.
Congratulations.
That was just a profound, incredible, experience to have with these people. I love them. I still feel her heart now,
Yeah. Yeah.
all this time.
It most certainly was. And so was it then that you transitioned to Hollywood?
Shortly thereafter, I had my money. I was ready to go. So I got in my little Volvo and drove down.
So what happened when you got here?
Well, I had started learning like there is magic in life and there is magic into what you speak. And I started asking people who they knew in Hollywood and invite them to I had a couple of going away parties. People gave me phone numbers because this
Hmm.
internet, you really had to know someone.
Hmm. That's right.
Databases, there was no social media. It was, do you know somebody inside of that castle that we're talking about?
That's right.
Literally, this is about climbing that wall because you were talking about a business that was completely exclusive.
Hmm.
If you weren't a part of it, you just weren't a part of it. You were just outside.
Hmm.
What you got in was through connections. So people brought me connections, and one girl came and said, I work for a casting director, and we know a lot of people. When you come, give me a call. And when I called her, she said, yeah, there's a job at this agency, and I've told them about you, and go get it. So I was like,
Wow.
all right.
Talk about timing. Excellent.
Yes, I went and I got that job. So 2 weeks after being in LA, I was working in a talent agency. I didn't know that that's not usually how it works for people. Usually you're in the mailroom for a while, for a couple of years,
That's right.
and then you get to put on a desk. So it was an interesting experience because I was very competent.
Hmm.
What happened is that it created a lot of jealousy
Amongst your peers.
amongst my other peers.
Hmm.
Were sidling up saying, well, who's your dad? How'd you get this job?
Okay,
And I
I
stupidly
understand.
told them the truth that, oh, I got this job because I started networking and somebody gave me this number and that's how, and they were like, oh, so you don't have any hold here.
Uh-huh.
You're new and you don't have protection. I'm like, no. And
Wow.
the knives came out.
What that's amazing. Geez. So what'd you do?
Well, I learned some lessons, some hard lessons. But that was part of the magic too. I needed to learn these things.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because this part had been easy. And um, what happened is that one of the other assistants was fired, and so the head assistant said, "Oh, Steve's so great, we can just put him on. He can just handle two agents." So I'm like,
Wow.
"You're doubling my work. Am I getting a raise?" No, 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 no. No. You're just going to be, here. I mean, it's not that big of a deal.
Uh-huh.
And then a few weeks later, the receptionist quit, and they were like, "Well, why don't you just answer the phone?"
You again?
Yeah. And then because most of the calls are for you now, because you're handling two agents, so you can just, it'll be more efficient. I said, so basically I'm doing three jobs, but there's no pay increase. No, 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 no. I mean, really, what's the big deal? You're just answering the phone. It's just. And so I became more and more resentful and more surly and
Hmm. Hmm.
really angry. Plus, with all this work, I was coming to work earlier and staying later. And of course, it was one of those towers in Century City where at a certain time they turn off the air conditioning, so it would be
Oh,
hot.
oh God.
And I will say this: Hollywood was very late to uh, become computerized, so these people were still
Hmm.
expecting things to be typed, which I was. I'm from the Bay Area. I'm like, we were always on computers from the time I was a child. I'm like,
Sure.
what is happening here?
Oh my God.
But like everything's going backwards.
Yes,
I
yes.
remember just being angry and resentful and very unpleasant and uh, uh, just pissed off.
Hmm.
I called my
Rightfully so.
Yeah, well, is it, I called my father and he said, you, he listened to me for a long time. He said, well, I'm going to point something out to you.
Okay.
You want to dominate this industry. You are getting what you want. You just can't see it.
Mm.
Ego is in the way.
Hmm.
You are now in contact with almost everybody these people know because you answer the phone. You are handling not one but two agents in that company, and you can't see it as power. You see it as a degradation. That's your problem. That's your
Good for
blindness.
him.
You're actually getting what you want, but you can't see it because your ego is in the way.
Very interesting. Uh-huh.
And so when you look at the opportunity in front of you and realize that they have outsmarted themselves, but so are you,
Uh-huh.
when you shift your mind, you will find success. And he again hung up in my face. And of course, I knew he was right. I was like,
Yes, of course. Yeah.
here we go again.
Oh man.
And it took me the better part of that weekend to like just meditate because honestly, anger is a very bitter drug, but it's a very addictive one.
Hmm.
We see this, in many, many ways. It is very easy to keep wanting it.
Yeah.
It's like nicotine or,
Yeah.
like, but you can't get enough of it, and it just keeps feeding itself.
Hmm.
Once I kind of just broke that and realized that knowing, reading everything, knowing everything, being of service to people, being uh, helpful and useful and making myself a part of the industry I said I wanted to be in. And there it was right in front of me. I did it
Mm-hmm.
every time the phone rang.
Right.
I'd handle things. I'd do things. I'd get things done. I was building my contacts up. People started wanting to meet me. I started making friends. I started, meeting people that, were doing business with the company. And
Uh-huh.
I didn't come with a bad attitude. I came with an attitude of, let me receive whatever else is out there.
Yeah, your dad was right. I mean, what you didn't realize was you had your own firm.
We all do. That's what we don't understand. We always do, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
In the day, you've got to, by respecting yourself, you can perform tasks for anybody.
That's right.
But I think it was the same thing that happened in the restaurant. It was like you kind of I had to kind of rethink the way I was looking at what was being put in front of me.
Uh-huh.
So instead of being angry about the scripts, I read all the scripts
Interesting.
and loved it and
Mm-hmm.
knew more and have conversations with people because I wasn't pissed about the work. It was the work that I said I wanted, and I got there. And what happened is that, in the course of 6 months, everybody knew that I knew everything, so they'd come to me about everything.
And
Got my raise.
slowly learning to know everybody.
Yes, and I got my raise, and I learned that, this is life is generally about this, but Hollywood in particular is about solutions
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
finding creative solutions to any and everything, whether it's suggesting an actor, whether it's a way to do a deal, whether it's a way to find a compromise between people, whether it's a way to solve a dispute, all those things.
Mm-hmm.
you know, needed that level of maturity. I couldn't do it as a resentful jerk kid.
Excellent. Excellent.
So,
So you've done so many things. I mean, you host shows, you've managed people. Uh, I can't think of any A-listers that you don't know. How did that all come about? And how's it going now?
well, I feel like creativity is a leveler. So, I always think of these people as just collaborators.
Mm-hmm.
It's things that I have to do to make the situations work. That's my responsibility.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I so I never think people in those terms of A, B, C, and D. Everybody is creative.
Right. Right.
Um, what even Tom Cruise put it well. He goes, even the person that takes out your trash is making a movie, so you better respect that.
Right.
It's it's not, but it's true. Everybody who's doing something in the service of the film is making the film,
That's right.
and so every single person, whatever their position may be, deserves the same respect.
Yeah.
Everybody,
Yeah.
the same. There's
But
no
you also, I mean, you've given back so much, and I've learned so much from you over these years. One thing I learned about from you was not compromising. I've been in a couple of shows because of you, and I was basically willing. I was just happy to be there, and I'm ready to go do this for free, and at their terms. And I learned very quickly from you that I did it on my terms, and it was far
and it
from,
worked out better. It worked
yeah,
out.
it worked out better. That's a great way to say it. It worked out a lot better.
Yeah.
Um, and so, having said that, let's talk about some of the things that you've done over the years in terms of giving back. I know you spend a lot of time in Africa. I know you've got Alta Global Media. Let's talk about those things and the folks that I see you quite often on social media, at summits, at forums. I'm going to say this: mentoring the current and next generation of filmmakers and producers and directors. And what is that like? And tell me what you're doing.
Well, I mean, it kind of takes several forms. I've always had interns. I would say I've had interns for the last, gosh, I mean, I've been in this business over 30 years. And I would say about 4 or 5 years in, I started having interns.
Mm-hmm.
I always felt like I wanted to be to other people what was not given to me. People were not very generous. They were all about seeing new people as a threat,
I see.
as someone who might take up limited resources. I mean, the scarcity mindset is very prevalent in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
Just jealousy, whatever the hell it is. I don't, I can't stop to worry about it. Um, I feel like I always say the generous hand is never empty. That's my point.
Yeah.
Encourage young people to be generous because there's so much emphasis on people talking about what they want as opposed to what they have to offer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You might wind up with the same results, but the energetics are very different. You know, if somebody knocks on your door and says, "I want this, this, and this from you," you don't really. I mean, it's not that interesting. But if somebody knocks on your door and says, "I have 10 things to offer, which one might be of interest to you?" It's a different kind of a person. It's a different kind of a relationship. It's a different kind of energy, and I think it makes everybody kind of tap into the creative collective spirit that we have that helps make movies happen.
I agree. I agree. If you were going to look back, and your career is far from over, but what's the most memorable moment you've had in your career and why?
Well, I'm going to finish telling you about the philanthropy, though.
Okay.
I do, I've always, as I said, I've always had, interns for many, many years. And I also work with the Holly Shorts Film Festival,
Mm-hmm.
advisory board chief. I'm on the advisory board of the Durban Film Mart in South Africa. I also do a lot of work with AFRIF in Nigeria.
Mm-hmm.
I'm currently serving as a judge for a film festival in India.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I feel like anyway, my point to all this international stuff, and then I'm on the board of Content London and BFI America, which is about film preservation. So I feel like all these things are necessary. Uh, you have to be contributing something to the culture. We cannot simply operate on a shopping list of what what you want, and we owe it to the world that we live in to be putting something into it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
not just going to the well until it's dry. It's not good.
Yeah. And I want to thank you because one year you had me as a judge for Holly Shorts,
Yes.
and I must have watched at least 3 dozen films over several weeks, and it was really interesting and an incredible process for me. So thank you for letting me do that.
No, it's great, and I'm glad you did it. And it's important. It's important to do these things. We're trying to elevate new voices. It's an interesting moment because it's never been easier to make films, but because of that, it's also harder to get attention because we're
Mm-hmm.
noisy, noisy, noisy environment.
Yes.
Go back 40 years ago, the media was a very controlled thing, and it was film, television, radio,
Right.
magazines,
Uh-huh.
a controllable world. And it kind of existed like that for a long time. And we've had to learn, and we're still learning how much of a shift this technology has caused.
Mm-hmm.
That people don't uh, we don't have a monoculture, first of all.
No, not at all. No,
So to create a movie star, for example, in a monoculture was, I won't say easy, but easier now than to get the attention of a lot of people in all these different options they have. How do
that's
you
right.
become this face that they all know?
Mm-hmm.
Where
Mm-hmm.
you have this enduring fame from people that if I say Charlie Chaplin, everybody knows who that is in the whole world.
Right.
But I could mention 20 actors who are in movies right now, and people would kind of go, "Oh, okay."
Right.
You just don't have the same ability.
No, no, you
And
don't.
so my point about that is that we've got to, um, we've got to do our best to bring voices in. I have this, we did a spotlight on Africa, so we were able to bring people from the continent into the Hollywood consciousness. I mean, there's all these things you can do when you've created all these byways,
Mm-hmm.
out of the fact that with Holly Shorts, I would say almost half the entrants are women.
Is that right?
Yeah, very important because I mean, we can talk about all the biases in the world, but the gender bias is a big one and it needs to
It,
be addressed.
it's and always has been.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's outstanding.
half the
Congratulations.
population who we really ought to be listening to.
Right.
Just saying.
Wow. Wow. No, wonderful work, to say the least. Wonderful work. Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, like there's been many, many high points. I mean, I think the beginning, I mean, I think some of the early things were making a film debut at the Venice Film Festival, with that film that we did at Huey P. Newton's story. And
Mm-hmm.
having that experience and then
Mm-hmm.
the Peabody Award that was given to us by Walter Cronkite.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So that
Wow.
there's footage
That's
online of that ceremony. To have someone who represented all of that put that award in our hands was extraordinary.
it's historic.
Yes,
Outstanding. I'm
indeed.
going to challenge you a little bit and just ask if you were going to do anything different, what would you do? What would it be if you could name one thing?
I think I would have probably been more. I probably would have done more what I already knew what I should have been doing in those uh, in the '90s, which probably would have been be a little bit better with my money.
Okay.
I didn't get my wits about me until about 2000 because I was like, it's Hollywood, it'll be fine.
Right.
Um, I knew better because I knew that no matter what, I knew you had to follow the principles of saving a certain amount of money, investing a certain amount of money, and I kind of let
Hmm.
the window because and I don't regret it because I felt like it let me, and I was able to take all these risks that I took and live a little bit by the seat of my pants and find my way forward. And sometimes it was necessary because we weren't making any money, but I knew that I was on the path to something that made sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Media.
Well,
Um,
gosh, let's see. I mean, we have got many irons in the fire right now all around the world. I think that we are working on we have we're working on finishing the financing for a film fund that we have out of South Africa. Uh,
oh.
I've got I'm trying to put together slates for a couple of directors I'm working with.
Hmm.
Um, doing a lot, full circle. I'm focusing a lot on film finance right now.
Yes.
Uh, and because that is the key. Without that water, there's nothing will grow.
I understand.
And still more education and I think more globalizing, even more.
Good. Good.
Those are the things. And you know, possibly we're thinking about opening an office in London.
Really?
Yeah.
That is great. Great. Well, I got to tell you, Stephen, again, the time has flown in terms of our relationship. The time has flown today. You truly are a pioneer. And I love your story because, as you mentioned, you didn't know anybody. And it's a grassroots story, and you made yourself. And to go through the journey that you've taken, as you mentioned, with very few to no mentors, I think your dad was probably a better mentor than you think.
Oh, I don't discount that at all. I mean, I've mentioned him how many times. I
Yeah,
absolutely give credit to the no nonsense, cut through the bullshit way that he
yeah,
thinks, and the way my grandparents thought. I mean, I owe a lot to my family, and I was lucky, though I will say, to have had a really incredible relationship with the actress Diane Carroll, who was an extraordinary influence here. And through her, many other people like Harry Belafonte and other.
uh,
But I would say Diane would stand out as the most influential and generous person from the industry that I ever knew.
and unless I'm wrong, she was in fact the first Black woman to star in a television series.
Yeah, Julia.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was incredible. It was a big breakthrough, and you know, sadly, it also resulted in so many death threats that they had to um, involve the FBI, and they had a whole division that coped with all of this. And she told me that the stress of it was such that she had to move on at a certain point. It was just too much.
yeah, it never seems to go away, no matter what industry you're in. We're always dealing with that.
Yeah, no, it's tragic, but I think if you've been towards love and goodness, you know, that's our job to not
Yeah,
not be swayed from our path.
that's right. And well, you've always been positive, and it's kept me positive. And again, thank you for everything you've done for me personally, and just for the industry and for all of the young people out there who've benefited through your experience and your expertise. Believe me, we all appreciate it.
Well, it's a pleasure and an honor to work with someone like you who's done it what you've done, sir. So let's not.
Well, thank
You
you.
contributed a couple of things to this culture, I would say.
I've done my best, that's for sure. I
And
had
you're not
parents
done
like
either.
I had parents like yours. I believe me, mom hung up the phone on me after I told her I left medical school. So
Oh yeah, these are things that, this is a good, strong of household, and keeps people's minds straight. It's good.
Outstanding. Well, the best wishes for continued success. I'm going to close out here with just telling everyone thank you for joining us for this episode of Inside the Castle Walls. This program is produced by Maya Suthers. You may listen to our program on a variety of platforms identified on our site at InsideTheCastleWallsPodcast.com. That's InsideTheCastleWallsPodcast.com. Discover the other extraordinary people who have joined us to share their successes, to get inside of the castle and become the solution we're all looking for. Stephen, you're a gentleman, a scholar, and a pioneer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Errol. Thank you, Maya.